Good morning. Today is March 5th, 2024, Tuesday. And today we'll continue on our study of the Tanya, Rosh Zalman's edition of Rabbi Chaim Miller. Yesterday we talked about what happens in the very dire emergency, life-threatening emergencies, when a person has to make a decision, when a Jewish person has to make a decision that reaches into the deep core of his Jewish soul, even for the person who is completely irreligious, completely uneducated in Jewish values and Judaism, completely knows he is Jewish, but other than that, knows nothing about his history, his background, and really gave it up. And we discussed the mechanism of how this happens. And then the Tanya, this is chapter 20 of Tanya, 20 out of 53 we're now at, discusses why does it happen in everyday life? Why the person doesn't have the same feeling? The person who is even not a Rasha, we talked about different gradations of the person, Tzadikim, Benoni, Rasha, which is not bad, not a good person. Even a 99% bad person still have a little bit of a kernel of good, to which that emergency situation gets to. And we discussed yesterday that we looked at the structure of the Kabbalistic structure, Zohar structure of the Jewish souls. We discussed, let me see if I show it to the camera better, maybe you can see it better. On this side, it is like many worlds coming from the world of action through the worlds of Yetzirah, Beriah, and Azilut, formation, creation, emanation into Ein Sof, infinite light. And then here shows the Sfirot, the 10 Sfirot, Kabbalistic Sfirot, of which the highest one, the Chokhmah, is a direct connection to the eternal, to supernal light. We talked about these 10 Sfirot exist in every one of the worlds. And we discussed yesterday about interconnection. That was lesson, I forget, 25 or 26 lesson maybe. So we talked that in a normal situation, the light of God comes from that infinite source that we cannot fathom, we cannot understand. And it gets down through the world, filtering down until it comes to us in reduced intensity, but in a way that we can understand it. And then it goes from Chokhmah to Bina to Da'at, and then on to Sfirot, down to Malchut, that we can understand it and act on it. The wires get crossed and rusty and worn out, and for person who walked away from Judaism, essentially, it no longer works. But in the emergency, there is a like coronary bypass. The line connects directly from Ein Sof, and that goes in the emotional level. The Torah then, the Tanya then talks about the soul. What makes a Jew a Jew? And the person, we all have souls. Jews have souls, non-Jews have souls. There's no differentiation between how good or bad people are. We're all human beings. We're all children of Adam. We're all children of God. But and each person and each nation and each group has a distinctive missions that God assigned us all in life. For the Jews, that mission is to have direct connection to God. Sometimes, unfortunately, we stray from that, and we pay the price, as the history shows. But the structure of Jewish soul, the Tanya is saying, Kabbalah is saying, that the soul has like garments. They have garments of thought, speech, and action. And every one of those, thought, speech, and action, particularly in thought and speech, the first two, the words are involved. So what I'm saying now is the expression of my thoughts comes from my mind and expresses through my mouth as a speech. One word, hi, hello, table, moon, by itself doesn't mean anything. It may evoke some emotion in you. If I say moon, you probably imagine maybe a nice evening with the moon just coming out. If I say the sea, it might reverberate in your soul the last time you made a trip to the beach and stood by the wave in the beach, went for the swim. So the word, or couple of words, trigger the certain emotional response based on our memory and experiences. But by itself, it doesn't tell the whole story. The Tanya brings another element, the fourth element, or maybe the zero level element, which is called the deep core of the soul. Pre-thought. It's a feeling, essentially. This is, I show a little picture in the book. See if the camera can see that. Over here. Okay. It shows basically, so the soul has three garments: thought, speech, and action. And the deep core, that's why sometimes we have this deja vu. I saw it somewhere. I remember, somebody told me that. You can't yet verbalize. You don't even think about it yet, but it's an inkling. So the Jewish connection to God always exists on that level. But that level, to the emotional attachment, the spiritual attachment on the pre-thought level, before the thought, even before the thought happens. On that level, there is no words. That's why in our prayers we're saying, talk about God speaks, God talks to us, but there is no words. The talking to us is, sometimes, if you sit with a good friend or a good relative, with your son, with your daughter, with your mother, with your father, brother, sister, uncle, somebody you have very close connection, and sometimes you can say, and the person will tell you, don't talk, let's just sit quietly. And you sit quietly and you communicate. Maybe the thoughts going through your mind at that time, but your connection is above, beyond that level, on the emotional level. Especially, haven't seen somebody, haven't seen your very deep, very dear relative for a long time, and you got together. You embrace when you sit, when you look at each other. You think, but before you think, you have some other things happening in your soul. That's the connection, initial connection, the trigger for the thoughts. In the thoughts there are words. When we're thinking, we think with words. We say it in our head. When we open our mouth and express the thought, it's the next level down. That's a speech. Speech is a combination of words, but it's triggered by a brain thought process. And then action. Then we act on this, hopefully in a good way. But the pre-thought feelings level is happening in every Jew, and it's always in action, but it is subdued in most situations for many people. For some people, for tzaddikim, for people on a very high level, they're continuously on that. That doesn't mean that we're angels. God gave us this ability to feel, to sense the presence of the upper source, God, Hashem. But also he put us into the world that has a klipot, that has the shells that we have to overcome. Some people have a thicker shell, some thinner, and some don't have it at all. Some, the expression, wearing the soul on your sleeve. You're wearing your emotions on your sleeve. You can look in some people and you can see, this is a holy man or holy woman. This is a holy person. Something about this person emanates this light. Maybe that is a light that shone from Moses' face when he came to talk to people from Mount Sinai. He spoke to God, and his face shone, and he talked to people, and the radiance expressed the connection with God. That is what they understand first. Before they even thought about it, they just saw it, and they felt the connection. And of course, we're humans, not angels. We have to ultimately live on this, in this material world, and we have a connection with God, but that's a very powerful mechanism that God gave us as a present. The Tanya goes over dynamics of how this works and how to enhance that. And again, in other lessons we discuss, in other topics we discuss that, the question of why do we need that? Why do we need this connection? Maybe this connection makes you worried, makes you think about it too much. Sometimes life could be easier if you don't just follow instructions. You wake up in the morning, have your omelet, go to work, come back, watch TV, go to the beach, buy things, enjoy life. marry, have children, have a car, lawnmower, a house, all things. And what's wrong with that? That's a material expression in our bodies. Nothing wrong with that. It's a good to have, to enjoy life on this world. But Tanya teaching us all that has to ultimately filter through the emotional connection. If that emotional connection is lost, we are lost in the world. So hopefully you will enjoy learning with me. I'm learning myself too, the dynamics of this process as we go tomorrow to another lesson. Have a great day. Hopefully it opens some connections, some wires that maybe you didn't think existed in you, but they do. And you can make it stronger. You can polish it, enhance it, and you can make it a very powerful tool in your connection with God. And that connection, pre-thought, makes you understand what it is for a Jewish person to be a Jewish person. That is what our mission. Have a great day. Talk tomorrow.